Sorry, I was muted. Hi, everyone. Welcome to DLT week 3. We're going to dive into adding healthy fats to our diet today. So, continuing with the optimizing of our diet. Last week we talked about being more mindful with our meals, and we've talked about the whole food plate. So, hopefully, you're seeing success in transferring over some of those processed foods and adding in more whole food sources. And that's going to make the biggest difference in going into fasting, but also being more mindful about how we eat and when we eat, and if we're getting full enough, and staying full between our meals is so important. So last week was about gauging this hunger scale before we eat. Are we really hungry, or are we allowing external rules to determine when we eat? Is it the time of day, or because someone else is eating? Is it because you just saw some food or smelled some food and it looked good? And then using the external rule of calorie counting, trying to get away from that and just being more mindful of, am I hungry? How hungry am I? And then before you get to ravishingly hungry, making sure that you've decided on a healthy meal that is revolved around the whole food plate. And then making sure you get comfortably full and satisfied so that you will not need a snack in between that meal and your next. Now, we also talked about moving snacks to the meals. If you have something in particular that you just have the cravings for, it would be better to have it with the meal than to have it separate, because again, we'll have that insulin jump, we'll have our fat storage turn on, and we want to have as much rest between our meals as possible. All right. So plating was one of the methods we could use with being just more mindful with our eating, and this can help us from eating when we're in the car or at a desk or standing watching TV, basically being distracted. We just want to be more mindful on how we eat and when we eat, but also while we're eating, we want to be mindful that, okay, we are sitting down with our plate, we are eating, and we are paying attention to our body cues and when we are getting full. So hopefully, plating has helped eliminate some mindless eating for you, whether it be on the go or just kind of like grabbing things here and there in the house. All right, so I want to talk about fat fasting. This is a really great tool to use before you go into fasting. Okay, what is it? Fat fasting is a tool to help you get started with regular fasting. It's going to help you regain control of your appetite and overcome cravings. So you will reach a fat burning mode faster with fewer side effects with the fat fasting. And it's also really helpful to those that are new to low carb eating or who have never fasted before. This is a great thing to do maybe a day before going into fasting, or even just focusing on a very solid fat fasting meal before the next day that you go into fasting. You can also use fat fasting when you come back from vacation, periods of stress, when fasting might seem impossible. So I know we've all been a little triggered by the weather. So fat fasting could be a great comeback from this past week. So just think about it. It's a great way to reset. And here's the logic behind it. Fat is the most satiating macronutrient on a neurological level. As you start to eat fat, your body automatically starts letting your brain know that you're getting full. Fat signals to the brain the body is full by promoting these feelings of satiety. So, another reason I'm always like, let's get our fat into our meals, because this is what is going to help our brain and our body feel full. Fat contains more calories per gram compared to our carbs or protein, meaning a smaller amount of fat can provide a substantial amount of energy for our body. So even just cooking with fats or topping your food with fat, like, some sliced avocado, that can do the trick for you. Carbs take longer for satiety cues to kick in, and this is why it's so easy to overeat on our carbs and then feel very full and bloated after a carb-focused meal. Think about like a big plate of pasta, how you feel like you start on it and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then you keep eating, and you might finish the whole bowl, and then you're just overly full by the time your body is cueing your brain, hey, 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 you're full. All right, so this is how you fat fast. Things that you would include in a fat fast include eggs, salmon, steak, all fatty sources of protein, nuts and seeds, avocados, olives, non-starchy vegetables raw with dressing, so think salads, non-starchy vegetables cooked with fat. So if you wanted to do like some grilled salmon or seared salmon on the stove, if you wanted to grill steak, put it on the stovetop, however you want to cook salmon, steak, if you want to do some eggs, and then do some cooked non-starchy vegetables beside that. That would be a great meal. If you wanted to do a salad topped with salmon, steak, eggs, things like that. Easy, simple meals. You really want your body to get bored with these foods, but ultimately, you're getting your body to a level of satiety where you can go into fasting and it's easy. All right, tea, coffee, and water are also a part of the fat fast. So, how it works is it's kind of counterintuitive calling it a fast because you get to eat whenever you're hungry. You eat healthy fats when you're hungry. The foods will get boring. This is the point. You are training your body to eat only when you're hungry, and you're going to use the fat to drive out the carbohydrate cravings. Over time, it's going to take less to satiate you, and fasting will come more naturally. So, this is why it's a really good reason to use fat fasting before you go into a fast. So here's some fat fasting meal ideas for you. You could do eggs and avocado. Be a great breakfast. You could do a veggie omelet. You could do full fat yogurt, add some peanut butter, chia, flax seeds. You could do a smoked salmon salad, a Caesar salad, a taco salad, steak or salmon with creamed spinach. You can add in nuts, pecans, cashews, walnuts, pistachios, peanuts, and then artisan cheese like cheddar, Gouda, goat, blue cheese, Gruyere. So artisan cheese is going to be a better option than our shredded cheese bags because it's a more whole food form. When you look at shredded cheese bags, they have additional ingredients added to them to make it into that type of cheese. But ultimately, if you would buy cheese from a block, it not only tastes a lot better, but it is better for you too because it's in its whole form. Okay, and I gave you a ton of salad ideas last week at the end of that presentation. So if you need other salad ideas, you could go there. And of course, there's other vegetables that you could have with your steak or salmon besides cream spinach. That's just an idea. If you wanted to do anything from the list from the whole food plate of the non-starchy vegetables, you could do that. All right, so our goals are going to be continue with our whole foods and our mindfulness when we're eating, and then we're going to start adding in these healthy fats in preparation to fast. So you may not be ready to go into a fat fast, but you can also use these ideas of ways to make your meals more satiating. So I do want you to focus on that. If you're not ready to go into a fat fast, I want you to use these ideas to make meals more satiating. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I want you to always find a way to add in some healthy fats to your meal. Okay. And then here's our final tip and takeaway. Let me share this with you. Okay. So the diet doctor does it again. Top 10 ways to eat more fat. So they're going to talk about creamy sauces that you can make out of fat, ways to make your low carb eating more decadent, ways to use fat to enhance flavors in your meals, um, and just get a new take on how to make meals more delicious. Okay, so garnishing with high fat foods. whole food toppings such as cheese, avocados. I would stay away from cured meats. That's more of a processed meat. But I would do cheese and avocados. You can sprinkle seeds on top of salads. You can do chopped nuts on top of salads. I think that's great. And here's a whole list of ways to increase your fat intake, things you could add to your salads. So here you go. And I'm going to give you all this to go through. Eat whole, full fat ingredients. So saying goodbye to low fat and fat free products. Going with a full fat version of milk, dairy, cheese, eggs, sour cream, things like that. Cooking with a fat. So anytime you're cooking your meat, your fish, your eggs, making sure you're using some natural fats. You can use butter, you can use oil to cook your foods in. Using different fats for different flavors. So fats can change the flavor of a dish, which adds variety to your meal. Sauteing like in peanut oil is great. Drizzling with sesame oil is delicious. I got on a kick where I was doing my eggs in sesame oil because I think it's because I moved my eggs to lunch. I love eggs. And when I started fasting, I had to have them at lunchtime since I wasn't having them at breakfast. So I would do them with sesame oil to make it a more savory breakfast item. So good with just a drizzle. Okay. Preparing low carb recipes. So you have lots of ideas here. Here's some high fat recipes that the diet doctor is going to give you. And then, of course, topping dishes with oil, dressing, sauces, butter. They'll give you low carb dressing ideas, condiments, dips, sauces, and then ensuring your snacks contain fat. So, as a rule, yes, we want to avoid snacks. But if you are too hungry to make it comfortably to the next meal, reach for a real food snack, not something from a bag. But if you had like a hard-boiled egg, that would be totally fine. If you want to grab a handful of nuts, totally fine. If you want to grab a couple of slices of cheese and olives, okay. We are still working on getting the snacks completely out. But if you have to have something, let's make sure that they're a whole food snack when we do. Um, at a low carb cheese course. I love this. So cheese can work as a dessert, which I've never thought of until I went into fasting. And like you could do cheese and berries at the end of your meal. If you're still not quite satisfied and you just need a little something, maybe you slice a couple slices of cheese and do a couple berries with it. And that could be a dessert at the end of your meal and also delicious. You can blend fat into your coffee or tea. So they mentioned coconut oil. I know people have used MCT oil, that's medium chain triglyceride oil. Adding that to your coffee or tea. You can also do heavy whipping cream. You can do half and half. You can do almond milk. Um, but make sure you're using this tool wisely. I do have high cholesterol, so I have to be very careful of what types of fats I'm using. And I will continue to reiterate that for those that have cardiovascular issues. There are healthier fat, heart healthy fats, and then there are those that it may not bother people at all, but it will if you have any type of heart issues or hereditary issues with heart disease. Okay, that's why I do almond milk in my coffee. But if you can handle half and half, heavy cream, things like that, you can do it. Consider a fat bomb for dessert. Again, skipping dessert is what we want to lean towards, but they will give you some dessert recipes that are low in sugar. So I just love this site because there's so many options and ways to go about it. Okay, so I'm going to give you all this, and here's a really fun visual low carb guide. The information just keeps going. So I'll send you a link to this for y'all to continue digging through to see what you need and how you can use it to better your plan. And then I'll see you live and in person next week on Monday and Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it. Email me if you need anything. And everyone, I hope you're staying safe and warm. And whew, we're going to get through this week. Y'all have a great one, and I'll see you soon. Bye.